Hello my dear friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel, Diana and the Book Hunt. So a couple of months ago, I was very much influenced by Tori from Novel Life. She does these wonderful videos of if you like this book, then try this book. And I really love that concept of a video because typically whenever you're obsessed with a book, whenever you fall in love with a book, you definitely are on the lookout for another kind of book that is similar to that will give you the same feelings. So whenever you have this kind of a video, you're almost guaranteed to get a good recommendation out of it. So I love doing that video a couple of months ago. I'm going to link it up in the card so you can check it out for more recommendations. And today we're going to do the same. I have 8 recommendations for you for books that remind me of other books that I have liked or loved. And I hope that you find more recommendations within this video as well. So stick around for all of the books and let's get into it. So we're going to start off with a banger here. We're going to start with one of my all-time favorite authors, Kennedy Ryan. One of the books that I never thought I'm going to find something similar to that book, the vibes that it gave me and the feelings it evoked and all of the wonderful setup and the romantic suspense within it, the romantic tension, basically, not the suspense, but the romantic tension and angst within it is Real. And Real is a book that very much deals with 2 plot lines within the book. We've got a movie set up because we've got a film director who very much wants to create this project, this movie that has been kind of the dream, the life work that he wants to create. And he's looking for an actress to be the main character of that movie role. So essentially he finds that in the heroine, and it's very much a forbidden romance between them because they shouldn't be together as they are working together. At the same time, there is this movie plot that we see throughout the book that very much gives off a very different kind of atmosphere within the book. So it's quite a very impactful, memorable kind of a read. It's very cinematic, it's very wonderfully written, and the romantic tension and the angst within this book is palpable. And I never thought that I'm going to find a book that gives off the same vibes, but I finally did. It's called When I Think of You by Maya Ariel. This book took me by such surprise because first of all, it's a debut novel. When I finished this book, I could not believe that this is a debut novel because it's just so wonderfully written, so wonderfully structured also. I had very few kind of remarks on it, and it was just a beautiful love story. We've got a second chance romance within this one, but it has the movie Hollywood type of setup as well. Within this book, we've got a film director as well, and he's also working on a project that he's been wanting to make his whole life. And it's a project that has been a lot of years in the making, and he's looking for a team to help him create this movie. And he comes across our heroine who works for this production company, but she's kind of like an executive assistant. Well, she's always wanted to be more. She wants to work in production, but she really doesn't get a chance because she's Black, and she really thinks that there is a lot of prejudice against her, even though she has the qualities, even though she's quite capable, and she's showing time and time again that she has what it takes to be within that world. She just doesn't get a fair shot. So when he comes across her and he presents this project to her, she's very much excited that she can get to be a part of it. But then if they start working together, again, this kind of a work relationship would be meaning that it's a forbidden type of situation for their romance. And this is where kind of the angst and the tension that you feel also in Real is also very palpable in When I Think of You. And just the atmosphere of creating this project, something that is like a lifelong dream of the hero, just really reminded me of Real as well. And there are just certain scenes, and also the characters themselves, they were very mature and very, I don't know how to explain it. I just felt the same kind of vibes from them. Like the whole time when I was reading it, I was thinking like, wow, this really reminds me of Real. And this is like, I don't think that coming from me, it's a very big compliment because who am I? But I really hope that if more people read this book, that they discover that this author really has a talent for how she sets up the plot and also her characters and how she develops the story. And it's really a big compliment that you can get compared to Kennedy Ryan. So I really hope that more people discover this book. And please let me know if you read it, by the way, because I want to see if more people who follow me read it and love it as much as I did, because I really, really love this book. So I haven't made it a secret on my channel that I really, really love Forget Me Not by Julie Soto. Last year I read that book and I was absolutely enamored with it. I put it on my favorites of the year list, and I've been talking about it ever since. Whenever I get the opportunity to recommend this book, I always do, even though it quite blew up everywhere. Everyone has been reading that book. But yeah, basically I just read another book that really reminded me of Forget Me Not, and I really want to recommend it. It's The Ex-Vows by Jessica Joyce. This book is very much similar in terms of the vibes, also the tropes within the book. In Forget Me Not, we've got a second chance romance between a florist, that is the male main character, and a wedding planner, who is the heroine. In The Ex-Vows, we again have this wedding theme. We've got the hero and heroine who also have a second chance romance within the book, and they're in charge of kind of organizing their last minute best friend's wedding, because the wedding was kind of going wrong from all directions. Like, the couple, they think that they've been cursed because like the DJ calls it off, and then the place where they're supposed to get married gets burned to the ground, and there's just a lot of things going on. And the hero and heroine, they're the best friends of the groom. They basically promise that they're going to do their best to organize the wedding for the couple. So in both of the books, we've got a setup of the hero and heroine having to work together towards creating this magical, wonderful wedding for another couple. And at the same time, we're working through past feelings and whatever happened in the past, and how they still have a chemistry and attention, and there is angst. And we've got in both books pining heroes. It really reminded me, The Ex-Vows really reminded me of Forget Me Not. I love both of the books, so if you haven't picked it up, The Ex-Vows, I mean, because I know everyone has already picked up Forget Me Not, but The Ex-Vows is definitely worth it. It's a new release by Jessica Joyce, so please check it out. Now for the next two books, I'm going to be honest, they're not my favorites of both of these authors, but I'm still going to recommend them because I know that a lot of people love both of the authors and also the more popular book out of the two. I'm talking about Booklovers by Emily Henry. Obviously, Emily Henry is one of the big time authors within the romance and women's fiction community. Booklovers by Emily Henry is definitely my least favorite book. But this year, when I read one book that has the same kind of setup by an author that I absolutely love, I was thinking, yeah, this has book lovers kind of vibes written all over it, so I'm going to recommend it in this video. So Book Lovers by Emily Henry centers on a heroine who goes on this retreat in this town that has these bookish characters that she loves. Like, they've made this miniature small town out of this very popular book. I'm not sure if I'm explaining this well, but she basically goes to this small town where she can enjoy her favorite books and characters kind of life within that small town. It's like Disneyland for the book lover, let's put it like that. And then we've got the other book that has very similar vibes, and that's Ashley Poston's novel Love Story. So a novel Love Story has, again, the same whimsical feel of going into a small town. If you can imagine a book lover who has this favorite book or a favorite series, and they get presented the opportunity to go into that world, into that small town, meet the characters and see their lives and see their love stories in real life, that is a novel love story. And Book Lovers has a very kind of similar themes, similar plot lines, and also I think the romance is not exactly in the same lane, but I think that the atmosphere is what most reminded me of Booklovers. But I do have to say that as Booklovers is not my favorite Emily Henry story, a novel love story I think is definitely executed better because it just has that whimsical, magical realism thing within it that Ashley Poston always does that just creates for a better plot line. So if you loved Booklovers, I think you're going to love a novel love story. For me, both of the books were not favorites, but that does not mean that it wouldn't be a favorite for you. So please check them out and see whether you're going to love them. So the next set of books are actually new releases. Both of them I read this year. The first is Lights Out by Kayla James. I've mentioned this book a couple of times over on my channel. I really liked it. It was recommended to me by the love librarian Caitlin. I love Caitlin. She always recommends the best kinds of books on her Instagram and in general. She recommended this book. She really loved it. And I was like, this sounds really good. It's a Formula One romance where both the hero and heroine are Formula One drivers. And this kind of setup was really intriguing to me, so I decided to pick it up, and I really love this story, and it's a debut novel as well, which is amazing. So I have mentioned a couple of times over on my channel that I believe that this year it's been kind of like the comeback for racing and Formula One romances because quite a few of these came out this year. And then the one that reminded me the most of Lights Out is Esha Patel's Off Track. This book also centers on a hero and heroine who are both race car drivers. And the interesting twist within the Off Track book is that the heroine also comes from a country where driving actually and being a race car driver for a woman just was a no-go for very many years. So for her to break into the scene as a race car driver, as a woman, and as a woman from Saudi Arabia is just wonderful to see. I know that a lot of people on Goodreads specifically had critiques about this book, and I can definitely imagine because I think that this also is a debut novel, if I'm not mistaken. There are definitely certain things that could be better with the writing and with focusing more on the romance. But for me, an integral part within a sports romance is to really see the action of the actual sport, because typically top sport, so whenever you're in the top of a certain sport, that just takes over your life. It's just part of who you are. It's what you do day to day. You wake up with it, you train with it, you have meetings around it, and you are performing it. So it's not like you have plenty of time to do anything else. So I can completely understand that if you're immersed into that world, that is your world. So I could excuse the fact that the romance was not as present as in all the other stories. I really enjoyed the Formula One focus within the book, and I also enjoyed the relationship between the two characters within that book as well. And it really reminded me of the other book, Lights Out, where we've got two characters who actually become teammates and together are racing for the same team. And I don't know, I just had good vibes all over both of these books, and I really enjoyed both of them. And if you haven't checked them out, please check them out to see which one you may gravitate towards more, or maybe pick them up both, because I know that not a lot of people are familiar with these books because they're debut novels. So yeah, please check them out. Now, the next book that I'm going to talk about is again by Jessica Joyce. It's her first published novel, which is You with a View. And I read recently another book that reminded me of it, and I'm gonna tell you why in a second. So You with a View is a road trip romance, and it's also kind of like a second chance romance. We've got a heroine who posts this TikTok that involves her late grandmother, because she found some letters that her late grandmother had written, love letters that her grandmother had written to someone who is not her grandfather. So she really wants to find out who that guy is. So she posts this TikTok where she hopes that someone would recognize the person who is involved in this letter exchange. And this guy comments, yeah, that is my granddad, I know for sure. So she goes on this meeting with this guy and his grandfather, and it turns out that it's a guy that she knows from her past, and they don't have the best relationship from the past. I'm not gonna tell anything more about it, but basically when she meets the grandfather, they start to exchange things about the past, about her grandmother, their relationship, and they agree to go on this road trip. This is where the similarities come in with the second book I'm going to mention, which is Here We Go Again by Alison Cochrane. This book is another road trip romance where we've got a sapphic romance this time between two ladies who had this relationship, like best friends kind of a relationship when they were teenagers, but then they had a falling out. And the two of them share this amazing relationship with their high school English teacher. So both of them are really very much attached to this person. And this person, their English teacher, unfortunately falls ill, and he kind of requests that as his dying wish, he would like for them to go on this road trip. And within both of the books, we've got a road trip going on that focuses on another character, so a side character within the book. And we've got like a parallel love story. So in You With a View, it's the grandfather who is reminiscing about his romance with the grandmother. And then in You With a View, it's the English teacher who is going to these places where we quickly find out that he's reminiscing about a relationship of his own. So there's definitely a lot of vibes that kind of are the same, a lot of kind of different sidelines within the plot that reminded me of each of these books. So if you liked You With a View, I think you're definitely going to love Here We Go Again by Alison Cochrane. So the next two books I also recently read. So I think, so one of the books is definitely a new release. The second book I think also came out this year, so it may be a new release as well. The first book is Curvy Girl Summer by Danielle Allen. This book is a wonderful book. It's a Black romance between a girl who really wants to find her next great love through dating apps. And she sets up these dates that she organizes through the dating app to be at this bar close to her house. And the hero within the book is the bartender at this bar. And we've got a similar kind of setup in the next book that I'm going to recommend, which is The Quit List by Katie Bailey. Within this book, we've got another heroine who is looking for her next great love on a dating app, and she goes to this restaurant bar, and her dates are always a disaster. So the bartender kind of rescues her from a very bad date at one point. And we've got a similar setup in both of these stories where the bartender is very much invested in what is going on with the heroine, why she's going on all these dates, and both of them decide that they're going to kind of coach the heroine through what she's doing wrong on her dates, is she doing everything right on the dating profile, and things like that. And at the same time, we obviously know that they're going to be the heroes within the story, so we are very curious to see, are they going to get jealous, and how is that going to work out? And it's just a wonderful kind of angsty-filled, humor-filled, banter-filled setup, because they first become friends, obviously, because they need to work out this problem. They need to find a solution to the heroine's problem. But then at the same time, we definitely feel the chemistry, we feel the tension, we feel that it's going to be a romance between them. So it's quite a bit of goodness within both of these books, so please check them out. So the next two books are a bit of a stretch. I wouldn't say that the tropes or really the plot lines are very similar like in the other books that I've just mentioned. But I think just the overall feeling and the setup of these books really reminded me of one another, and both of them are also, I think, new releases of this year. First of all, I'm going to talk about Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Abby Jimenez is also one of my all-time favorite authors, and this book was a favorite of mine. Also, it's going to end up in my favorites of the year. And then the book that really reminded me of this book is Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan. So both these books are set up in the summer. this is the first general part that really will give you the same kind of vibes. And then I think so within Just for the Summer, we've got a hero and heroine who both of them believe they have this curse, and they meet up through Reddit, and they've got this kind of an agreement with one another that they're going to date each other for a short while to kind of try to cancel out this curse, and then break up to hopefully find their respective ones. So with summer romance, we definitely have a different kind of setup, because the heroine is someone who just recently got divorced, or she's getting divorced, she has kids, and she's going to this park and she meets the hero there. They have this bit of an awkward meet cute, but very cute. And then she starts dating him. But what really made me feel like the same vibes as Just for the Summer is in both of the books, the heroines are definitely feeling like they aren't ready for a relationship, and both of them have this kind of fight or flight kind of feeling within their relationships. And in both of the books, we've got a hero who is patient, who is aware that the heroine feels like that, and are just trying to figure out a solution to the problem of the heroine, which is, how do I get this woman to understand that they can be in a committed relationship and they can succeed at it, and that they shouldn't run away from their happiness and they shouldn't run away from love. So within both of the books, I think the biggest similarity for me is that the hero is so focused on the heroine and just helping the heroine out with her specific problem. So in both of the books, there's different problems for the heroines, but just the vibes of how the hero really made the heroine feel assured and gave her all the confidence that she needs. And they were just wonderful heroes in both of the books, basically. So if you love the hero within Just for the Summer, you're definitely going to love the hero within Summer Romance. Now, the next couple of books are actually, so they're part of a series, that's why I'm saying that's a couple of books. They're actually by the same author, so it's a bit weird that I'm going to recommend two series by the same author, but they are just definitely giving off the same kinds of vibes, and actually they're set up in the same world. So yeah, you might want to check out the new series by this author if you've read the old series by this author. I'm talking about Sierra Simone. We've got the new Camelot series, which is a very popular series by this author. It's American Queen, American Prince, and American King, those books. And then the new releases by this author are part of the Lioness Club. It's not finished yet, but the couple of books that have come out are just splendid. So within American Queen, American Prince, and American King, we've got a threesome of characters, so a woman and two men, and the three of them have turbulent relationships with one another. And we as readers are getting within each book the relationships between the different characters. So in the first book, we've got the heroine with one of the men, and then in the second book, we get the relationship between the two men, and then in the third book, we get the relationship between the three of them. And then in Lioness, we've got a similar setup. We've got a threesome of characters, so a heroine and two heroes. Within the first novella, we get a glimpse of what the relationship will look like between the heroine and one of the heroes. In book one, we're getting the relationship between the two heroes. In book two, we're getting kind of a very drama-filled relationship between the three of them, but with a more of a focus of one of the heroes and the heroine. I know I'm sounding a bit crazy here, but basically what I want to say is that the setup for these books is quite similar. We've got a threesome of characters that have very problematic and toxic kind of traits and relationship things to work out within the books. They're very spicy. There's a lot of goodness, a lot of drama, a lot of toxicity, and there's cheating involved, and there's just all kinds of interesting conflicts that they need to overcome, and both of the series are just splendidly done. Sierra Simone is the queen of kind of forbidden spicy things within her books, and if you love the new Camelot series, you definitely need to check out the Lioness series, which are, so the first one is Salt in the Wound, and then we've got Salt Kiss, and now we have Honeycut. So these 3 books have come out, and we're expecting the next release. I don't know when, but I'm going to be picking it up once it releases because these books are so good. So these were the books that I wanted to recommend to you in this video. I hope I made some sense because I've been struggling today with words. I've been struggling with how to explain how these books are similar to one another. Just trust me that the vibes of these books are just very much the same, and if you liked one of the books, you're definitely going to love the other book that I recommended. Please let me know if you've read any of these books, if you love them as much as I did. Please let me know if you're planning to pick up any of the books that I recommended. I'm really looking forward to have someone pick up these books because they're really wonderful. And please don't forget to subscribe as well. I always forget to mention it. That's why I'm laughing every time I'm saying it. I hope to see you in the next one. Have a wonderful, marvelous day. Happy reading. Take care and bye-bye.